Welcome to Tuneagers. This is our TuneIn special event with David Salas from Easterlin, the band Easterlin. They have a single out right now called Wildflower, which is getting some buzz. He is a guitarist, a songwriter, and he is here to share his expertise with us. So take it away, David.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll just screen share my presentation real quick, then I'll continue. Yeah, and for the person in the Zoom meeting, if you feel free to ask any questions, like if you have you want to just ask a question, feel free to. You can ask as much as you want.
Okay, no problem. I definitely will if I have any questions.
Hmm. Cool, cool. Let me just figure out how to share my screen real quick, and then I'll continue. Uh, Okay, well, I'll do it. I'll do it without the presentation. That's fine. So my name is David Salas. I'm originally from Colombia, but I moved to South Florida, specifically the Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade area. And yeah, I've been playing guitar for around 10 years now. I'm all self-taught. I've never taken a lesson in my life, and yeah, I'll just talk about a little bit of my background and how I started to play guitar, and how I transitioned into really becoming a songwriter and continuing with the band. So I first started playing guitar when I was around, I want to say 8 years old, like 9 years old. And I really just picked it up because of the music I was discovering. Like, it's gonna sound very generic with Guns N' Roses and some bands like Queen. I've always paid attention to the guitar parts, and that's really what inspired me to pick up playing guitar, just to really imitate what they were doing, and just take inspiration from what those bands were doing back in the day. Like, I love a lot of older bands, and I take a lot of inspiration from listening to you know certain eras like the 60s, 70s, 80s, and yeah, that's really what got me into playing guitar, and what I've stuck with. And um I really started songwriting with my guitar very late into like me learning guitar. When I first started, I only really ever just I'm kind of a weird story because I only really used to learn like just songs, just a bunch of songs, like millions of songs from my favorite artists and bands, and that's what ultimately got me into songwriting. Because, obviously, if you hear a bunch of songs every day, you feel the urgency to create your own song. And you know, songwriting is very important to me. I love songwriting, and the transitioning from being, I guess, intermediate guitar player into being a full full-fledged songwriter is really starting with creating your own music. Like, I used to create my music on my iPhone and on the voice notes, and I'll just create different chords. It doesn't even have to be like full-fledged songs. It could be chords, different ways of playing certain chord patterns. You can really do a lot with just recording yourself and then playing over those recordings, which is how I created some songs and really started songwriting. And then I found the band Easterlin in high school. I uh went to school with the singer. Um she was we were both in middle school together, and we really started to pick up things in high school. So I guess the band really started like, yeah, like about 4 years ago, 3 years ago now. And she just introduced me to the drummer, and we also lived very close by each other. I live in a kind of small city, not really, but you're surrounded by people who are very close to you in a very close distance. But um, yeah, I started going to rehearsals with them, and I just started playing our favorite songs together. Originally, we were a Deftones cover band for a little bit, and you know, that's kind of where we started out, just playing a bunch of Deftones covers, learning our instruments too. Like Amber didn't pick up the guitar. She learned like she only had 5 months of experience before joining the band or like creating the band. And D'Angelo, the drummer, has been playing since about the same time I've been playing. So yeah, that's how I found Easterlin or started Easterlin. It just derives from Deftones covers. And yeah, click on the next slide. So
How do
what
you,
is East?
yeah, I
Yeah,
have a question.
yeah.
How do you think learning cover songs has helped you as a songwriter?
Oh, learning cover songs is personally for me, I have always utilized learning cover songs before actually going in songwriting. I That's how I learned technique and ri chords to work off of. I have no expertise in musical theory. I am very like I know the basics because I used to be in my high school jazz band, but as far as like, being fluent in theory, I'm nothing like that. I've only ever learned off of playing cover songs myself. And I also learned like useful skills from playing cover songs when it comes to songwriting. So yeah, it's just really just the chords and the different kind of rhythms you can make and that derive from certain songs. Yeah. Is there any more questions?
No,
Feel free if you don't have any questions. You're good. I can continue off my slide.
Yeah, David, there might be the green share button below. Do you see an arrow pointed up that says share in Zoom?
Yeah. Oh wait, yeah, I see, I see.
And then when you can select the screen, and if there's audio, you can click the audio box there. So select screen and share sound.
Okay. It's telling me to quit and reopen. Is that okay if I quit and reopen? Like just I
Mm,
don't have to. Yeah.
oh, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's cool.
Okay. So I'll continue off where I left. What is Easterlin? Easterlin in its, I guess, purest form is really a shoegaze alternative, ambient screamo genre. Um, we take a lot of inspiration from a modern day shoegaze, a lot of inspiration from screamo, stretching back to the early 2000s. Um, we take a lot of like personality from those songs and really implement it into ours. And we had our own unique taste to it. Some of my inspirations for, our earlier sound and what sound we try to take now is bands like My Bloody Valentine, Sonic Youth, the Brian Jonestown Massacre, and They Are Gutting a Body of Water. So all these individual bands, what I look most in them and like what I really catch as inspiration from them is their use of creating different kinds of structures within music. Um, Not just sticking by like the, intro, chorus, those simple progressions that some people find. They all have certain unique elements to it, especially bands like My Bloody Valentine and Brian Jonestown Massacre. They are very innovative themselves, and I don't really find most bands really taking inspiration from a lot of these bands unless they try to imitate these bands. So I try to find unique things about them. Okay. And all right, my creative process. Um, my creative process really comprises of just like alternative tunings and structure. I keep it kind of straightforward. Like every time I write a song, I usually um find a structure that I can really lay down on, like, finding an intro, a chorus, and I really use the rule of using three chords. So I find three chords that I really resonate with, that I can find different nuances in, new harmonies in, and I stick to those three chords and I work off of those three chords. So each and every song, I take three chords and I just work off of it. And I feel like it's really helpful when you're trying to make, like a verse or or a chorus. Um, you can make bridges from those three chords. A lot of songs have three chords, like country songs, but it's not always just about like sticking to three individual chords. You can have 20 chords or 30 chords, It's just where to start from is what I do is just find three chords. And the use of alternative tunings is very important to my band and my creative process because the straightforward tuning that everyone uses is standard tuning in guitar, but I like to mix it up a little and create my own new unique tunings. I take inspiration from Sonic Youth, who um, every song, every album, they have one unique tuning that they use that they create or take inspiration from somewhere else. I like to use a lot of alternative tunings. I think the majority of our recent EP is just alternative tunings like FACGGG, which is for our Screamo song, E sharp, A sharp, D sharp, G sharp, B sharp, E sharp, which is just standard, up a step, and then um, D sharp, A sharp, D, F, A sharp, D is like a unique tuning that I made and my friend made. We use that tuning on we have like five songs with that tuning, and it's just something we made. We didn't find it on the internet or anything. That's really where like the creative process comes from for me. Is just sticking to these different tunings and having, like a non-traditional structure and three chords that I can really work off of.
Can you tell us in simple terms what a alternative tuning is?
Yeah, of course. An alternative tuning is a tuning other than, I would say, like E standard. When you're learning guitar and picking up guitar, you stick to this tuning called E standard, which is what the majority of pop songs and country songs and, rock songs stick off of. When you experiment with alternative tunings, these tunings can, you know, be comprised of a bunch of different notes, like I mentioned. It's really just like using an alternative way rather than sticking to like, the simple way of just using a standard tuning. That's the way I can describe it.
For those of us who haven't retuned our guitar, like why would we want to? What changes when we do that?
So, um, I would say the best change that I find when really having an alternative tuning in your guitar and like wanting to restring your strings into a different alternative tunings is the change that you feel when you play your guitar. The you it's like opening up a whole set of new ideas, and it really opens your mind up to what you can do more with your guitar other than sticking to the rules by the book. It like it creates like ideas that just really jog your brain into wanting to make more music from these unique tunings.
That's cool to hear you talk about it because I play guitar. I've only ever used like drop D, which is not even really an alternative tuning. It's just changing one string on the guitar. But I wonder if there's other people out there like me that sometimes I'm just like, part of me is sort of terrified of not knowing where to put my fingers if I have an alternative tuning. Like all my chord shapes then with my left hand don't really make sense anymore. So like, do you have to like go through this whole like new way of even approaching your fingering hand? And is that
I mean,
scary?
I can I it is scary at first when you've only ever stick to one individual tuning and then you just create this new like crazy mess of different notes and it can definitely like confuse some people and it's really confusing, but my best advice for that is to start slow, start doing drop D. Drop D is, yeah, it's not you're not changing every string on the fretboard, but you're you're experimenting with something that's other than E standard. You're learning how to really use your hands in different ways. Like instead of just doing power chords, you're barring the chords. It's uh, starting slow is the best way and when it comes to anything, like in songwriting and playing guitar. Taking those like first initial baby steps, just drop tuning your E string to D, and only doing like bar chords. You can create like 100 songs off of that. And I think that's the best way to start. So, um, a little more about like my effects pedals. So, when you play guitar and you're starting out, I feel like most people, once you find out about pedals, you never come back. You just stick to pedals. I love pedals. Pedals, they can be utilized in many different things, and there's a whole, that's a whole other conversation. But I
What
use
are
pedals.
pedals?
So, effects pedals are really it's like they they're these like little um I wish I had one with me right now, but they're these little like these little boxes that you can change the way your guitar sounds with them. They have like
Oh,
knobs, yeah, and they change the way your guitar sounds. So if you want like more echo, like an echoey guitar, you put a reverb pedal and you blast that up and it's gonna sound like you're in a cave.
oh,
And
okay. See, I
yeah,
already
yeah.
know because I don't play guitar. I'm thinking about getting into it, but that was helpful.
And
Yeah, definitely.
and Rain, for you, this would be like recording in BandLab, when you take a track and you put an effect on it, it gives you a big list of effects. Some of them might be delay, echo, distortion. And what you see
Right.
when it pops up at the bottom looks like a little box that has knobs on it. It's just a visual of what the physical product, the physical thing really is, which it is just a metal
Oh,
box that you plug a wire into from your guitar, and then it changes the signal from your guitar. But for you, in terms of producing music, you're going to find those quote virtual pedals anytime you put an effect on something.
oh, okay. Good to know. I did not know that's what that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, guitar pedals are really cool. I like on band I used to record on band labs and I would always mess with the effects or like GarageBand. They give you a bunch of like, virtual pedals you can play with. I've always played with those and that's actually where I started learning about pedals, really from that and how to like mess with the different kinds of knobs. Yeah, and I'll
Hmm.
tell you a little more about like what kind of pedals I run through my pedal board. I really run through reverb, delay, chorus, fuzz, and a tuner. Just 5 pedals. I keep it very simple. I,
Okay.
yeah, a lot of people you'll find like who play the kind of music I play, like shoegaze, they will they'll have like, I'm not even lying, like 30 pedals on their pedal board. I've seen it. And yeah, like they will, go all out on their pedal board. And yeah, I don't think you need any of that. I just go with my five pedals and I'm happy. But yeah, pedals are really good to get into songwriting. You know, it's taking your sound from like something very dry and, it's just straight plugged into the amp into a whole new world of like effects that you can mess with, like, a bit crusher that like kind of garbles the sound. You can mess with like all of those low ends and all the way up to chorus where you can make beautiful sounds. Like some bands like Cocktail Twins, they use a lot of chorus reverb. Yeah, it's a really good tool for creating songs that you can experiment with a little more. And yeah, I'll go with my next slide, which is atmospheric layering. And what I mean by atmospheric layering is how to really create a sense of atmosphere in your songs, like creating that vibe in your music and having that personality in your music. And I think the best way to start with that, if you're ever gonna, track guitars or track vocals, is just using multiple tracks, which is what I do. I go to a studio down in Miami with a guy who's from this other band that was somewhat well known within the scene, and he has tons of amps and a lot of recording equipment. It's all DIY. It's his own thing, and he'll get mad at me for wanting like 10 tracks for one single song. But he's just a engineer who, yeah, whatever. But yeah, having a lot of multiple tracks can add depth to your song. Um, it can create, harmonies in your song that you'll never even find. Just adding those like, from the three chords, you can create like another guitar track on top of those three chords, and you'll have a whole, different song. Just tracking a lot of tracks isn't something you should be afraid of. Only keeping two guitar tracks is what I think kind of like a little lame. And just experimenting with multiple tracks, like for vocals we put 10 individual vocal tracks, so that can get really hectic, but we love doing it, and that's what we find that creates a lot of taste to the music. Yeah. Also like ambience, but having multiple tracks and when you're trying to create like an ambient kind of music, like like kind of think of like yoga music. It's calm, relaxing. That's ambience, and we utilize that a lot in our EP. We have a whole ambient track that we put out, and that's just multiple guitars layered on top of like delay and reverb. Yeah, and yeah, it helps us a lot. So I'll segue into the story behind Wildflower. Um, so Wildflower was one of our songs that gained some traction in 2023. That was the first song we've ever dropped and the first one we've actually ever recorded in our lives. And we were very young and we didn't know anything about recording, tracking, nothing. We were in a garage and we made this song and we went to the studio and recorded it. So it has really humble beginnings because it was literally our first song we've ever recorded. And I'll go into a little bit about the way we recorded Wildflower, the way we made Wildflower. We first started out with, just creating the overall structure of Wildflower. We took inspiration from Deftones because we were originally a Deftones cover band, and we took inspiration from a lot of modern shoegaze, like bands like Were and bands that, just really had a stepping stone in modern shoegaze. We took a lot of inspiration from like Slow Dive and stuff. and we just comprised all those inspirations into Wildflower. And the guitar tracks, there's like 7 guitar tracks, and the bass, there's only one bass track, but we take a lot of inspiration from Korean shoegaze or like Tokyo shoegazer, like so we tried to, not, I wouldn't say copy the bass sound, but we took inspiration from those kind of bass players and how they record their bass. And drums, we honestly we took a lot of inspiration from hardcore drumming. Like hardcore is like what derives from like really like death metal and stuff. And we took a lot of inspiration with the drums on that record from those kinds of drums, like in death metal and hardcore. And yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about some of the reactions to Wildflower. Um,
Can we listen to a bit of it? I pulled it up. Can we listen to?
oh, you did? Yeah, yeah, of course.
Would you like to hear it, Rain?
I really would.
Okay, here we go. Give me a thumbs up. I'm gonna share screen and let's make sure that we can hear it here. Just speak up if you cannot hear it.
Yeah, wow.
Cool. I can hear all those layered guitars. It makes it sound really
Yeah,
thick.
I
yeah, that
really like
was
it.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's like one of my like my personal favorites from the music we release. It's just the I love the how the guitars sound on that song. They sound really nice. But yeah. Uh, enough about music. I'll get a little bit into like the indie life and the DIY life and all that stuff and playing shows and whatever. And how that can contribute to songwriting in some ways too. So, touring life. You're gonna live if you're touring as a DIY band, a do-it-yourself band, independent band, you're gonna be, couch surfing, a lot of driving, a lot of transportation. I recently came back from touring New York, Jersey, and Philly, and I can tell you that it was a lot of couch surfing and just going into people's cars that you know. And yeah, it's you really to tour like, as an independent band, you have to depend off a lot of your band buddies, touring friends. We went on tour with like another shoegaze band called Velvet, and they helped us out a lot. And yeah, it's definitely a little tough to do. It's a little, can be a little headache sometimes, but I love it. My favorite thing is to travel and going to these different shows that have such a unique vibe about them, and the people you meet is just, you will have the best conversations just from the people you meet on the road. And yeah, I love it. It's what I want to do, and I love it. It's everything for me. And yeah, a little bit about like certain DIY scenes that we come across like on the road, and my personal scene down here in South Florida is you'll find a lot of DIY scenes across the whole world. Their DIY really derives from people creating their own shows and like veteran outposts, like a veterans bar, or shows like in small local neighborhood clubs, like independent clubs, people's houses, people's garages. Anything could be a DIY scene. um and South Florida, we have a DIY scene it's fairly big. A lot of bands come through to South Florida, like especially in Broward and Miami. And the importance of really supporting your own scene wherever you are. If you're a songwriter and you're creating your own music and you want to start a band, really having that first step comes into DIY. A lot of a lot of labels, like, really professional labels, though they their whole way is very twisted, and there's a lot of things that go wrong with it. And you can just throw that out. If you're trying to start songwriting, you can always start with the DIY scene, which is how we started. A lot of other bands start like that. A lot of successful bands start in their own area with DIY. And yeah, it's a great way to really express your emotions and your music and get to know people within the scene and have a lot of connections from that too. Um, you can do really anything in the DOR scene, any form of music. It's all accepted.
We're coming up on our time here, so I just want to make sure. Rain, did you have any specific questions for David?
Mm, no, not on the recent one, but I really liked listening and just knowing the life of just writing songs as well, because usually I don't have a particular schedule when it comes to songwriting, but I guess it's just like being a musician. Yeah.
David,
Yeah, it's
do you have anything you
yeah.
can take us out on in terms of our community of teen songwriters? Like, what do you wish you would have known back when you were 13 or 14 that you didn't?
Mm,
Or what would you tell yourself when you're first starting off? Or what would you encourage our teens to do as they're contemplating songwriting and making songs and posting them and thinking about a future in music?
I would say what I would say to my 13-year-old self, I would just say to, to really get out there, to make music, to start recording music, to make as much music as you can with, the people in your community. Um, creating songs, starting your own bands is very beneficial to not only you, but to your own community and your own certain like, what skills you want to have within making music. There's a lot of benefits to having your own band. And, I would just tell myself to just, instead of, covering songs every day, just to start really like exploring what more I can do with music. And, being in your own band is really nice. And having, this sense of community around your music is always inspiring for me. And yeah, just get out there, go to your local shows. A lot of shows that are DIY are all ages. So everyone's invited, it's just really important to push out music. We need more music in the world. And there's just this whole world that you can explore from just like, going to your local veterans bar or going to, an underground venue that all your friends go to. It's really important to get out there when you're young, even if it's not in the real world online. You can post music on Spotify, like using DistroKid. That's what I use. Or posting music on Bandcamp, which is, a free streaming platform, which is what I use as well. Um, yeah, just, getting out there really is what's important.
Great. Thank you so much for those words of advice. I want to thank you very much for coming to Tuneagers and sharing your song Wildflower. And I know that you're going to be heading on a full North American tour soon. So good luck. It's going to be
Thank you.
a lot.
Yeah.
Have a
Ooh,
blast.
you can't see it, but I'm clapping right now.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, David. I'm going to stop the recording now.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.